From the amazing Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, this is the JAKIB Media Pregame Show coming to you live from the Gallery Book and Bar and Games in the Ocean Casino Resort, where it was absolutely bumping last night just before Halloween. We all know Derek Gunn had his costume, and he was out and about having himself a good time. Welcome into the show.
This is my costume.
This is your costume.
This is it.
Professional reporter right here. Of course, Seth Joyner as well. Welcome back from the bye week, gentlemen. This is how we're going to start things off. First and foremost, Robert Quinn joins an already stout pass rush when it comes to this Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. The question that I know a lot of people are thinking about, outside of whether or not whether or not the Eagles will win this game, but maybe by how much they will win this game. The trade deadline is looming. The Eagles already making that move, though, to add Robert Quinn to the mix. Seth, I'll start with you. What do you do when you join a new team to try to fit in, and how do you fit in a team that is already perfect on the season?
Well, production dictates, you fitting in or not. When you come in at a late stage like this, they're bringing him in for a reason. You can never have enough pass rushers, and they've got one of the premier guys who had 18.5 sacks last year, and they're hoping that he can relive a half or a third of that when it really matters. I think they lost a defensive end and Derek Barnett earlier in the year, so they lost a guy in their rotation. It allows them, to some flexibility. Hey, man, think about it. I was thinking about when they made this trade. Can you imagine, okay, in a four-man NASCAR package, okay, Hassan Reddick on one side, Robert Quinn on the other side, BG in the middle. Well, BG kicked down, as a three technique. Fletcher's a three technique, or put him over the center, and Hargrave at a three technique. How do you stop that five-man rush? So, I mean, he doesn't have to. All he's got to do is come in and be productive, which, I'm sure he's going to be infused with life, leaving the Chicago Bears and being in a situation where a team is undefeated with the opportunity to go on and have the number one seed in the National Football Conference. Earlier
this morning, I was just reading a story from the NFL Network that came out about a conversation that you saw between Fletcher Cox and Quinn coming in here, and Fletcher Cox looking at him and just saying, hey, just so you know, we practice hard here. And Quinn saying, well, that's all I need to know about this defense.
Yeah, it's like a breath of fresh air. He's with the Chicago team that basically is going nowhere. A team that's playing better, but nobody expects to go anywhere. Now, he only had one sack this year. Seth talked about the 18.5 sacks he had in 2021, which was a direct byproduct of having that guy named Khalil Mack on the other side, who was drawing a lot of the double teams, which freed Robert Quinn up. This year, Robert Quinn was the one getting double teamed in Chicago, and people are wondering why he only had one sack. Now he's going to be freed again. So which Robert Quinn are we going to see? The Robert Quinn from 2021 or the one from 2022? People I talked to in Chicago with the Bears organization told me they loved Robert Quinn's attitude and his demeanor. There was some concern whether or not he still had a lot left in the tank. Well, now that you're in a defense on a team that is the only undefeated team in the National Football League, what more motivation do you need to prove that at 32 years old, you can still get the job done? He doesn't have to come in here and play every down. It's a great rotation of guys here. And like Seth just said, when they start playing defensive games, look at what you could do with some of the personnel. My biggest concern, and I don't want to bring this up because this will set Seth off in a minute. My biggest concern is the guy calling the strategic moves with the defensive personnel. What is he going to do with the addition of Robert Quinn?
How's he going to use him?
Well, that was my question as well, because if you're going to use him beyond the five-man line, if you're going to go to the four-man line and you're going to use Robert Quinn, then that means you plan on using him on early downs. If you use him on early downs in the five-man front, okay, you're kind of tipping your hand, because the only guy that can really drop is Hassan Reddick. So you're not – it's a dead giveaway what they're going to do. They're going to rush the four over here and drop Hassan Reddick on the other side. I'm pretty sure Hassan Reddick's going to get pretty damn tired of that. But I just, listen, I feel like we have enough talent on the outside to go some five-man rush sometimes, a lot more than what we do. And what that does, that frees everybody up across the board to go one-on-ones. if they want to put all 5 guys, out into the pass route. So I'm just like when they signed Hassan Reddick, I'm curious to see how they deploy him beyond just the 4-man rush and obvious passing situation.
I've said all season long, I didn't think the Eagles' 4-man rush alone was good enough to get the job done.
It still ain't.
And exactly. It has not been as productive as it should have been when you consider the volume of money they've invested into that defensive line.
Sure.
The 4-man front has not been as authoritative as I thought it should. People say, well, they have 17 sacks. Well, they have 9 against a Washington offense that I think 3 of us together could at least get 1 sack between us. I'm not saying you out.
I was about to say.
No, I'm saying you might get 1.5. You might get 1.5. Mark and I would combine for 1. We'll get a half apiece.
If it's possible to combine for just a half of sack, that's what we would get right there.
That's exactly right.
I know some Eagles fans had their eyebrows raised when they were thinking about Howie Roseman potentially making another move. He made a move, obviously, for the one that they got in here with Quinn. But before that, there was talk about Christian McCaffrey possibly coming to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were supposedly in on that trade, at least not to the point that the San Francisco 49ers were. So, Gunnar, I'll ask you, there's a couple of names out there right now that are very interesting to some people, Alvin Kamara being one of them, Kareem Hunt being another, with the Browns finally deciding, okay, you can seek a trade. Are the Eagles going to make another move before Tuesday's NFL trade deadline, Gunnar?
I would like to say no, but then again, we're talking about Howie Roseman, who never sleeps. This man is always wheeling and dealing in his mind of ways he can make this team better. When you bring in a Robert Quinn, right, what you're saying is basically, let's win now. Do you think they need another running back? I don't know, because the running back trio they have right now is decent. You bring in a Kareem Hunt, obviously there's an odd man out. Somebody's not getting touches, okay. But then again, you look at the caliber of running back a Kareem Hunt is, how do you bypass a guy like that? But what do you have to give up to get him? The Eagles did inquire about Christian McCaffrey, but they were not about to give up the draft capital that San Francisco gave them up to get that guy. 2nd, 3rd, 4th next year, and a 5th round the year after. That's too much for a guy who's only played like 10 games over the last 2 years before this year. As electric as he can be, that's too much draft capital. When you look at where the Eagles are right now for the draft of 2023, they have 2 firsts, 2nd, and a 3rd, but then now they don't have a draft pick until the 7th round. You don't have much else to give up. You're not giving up those top 3 picks, okay? Plain and simple. I would love to see a Kareem Hunt here. I think Kansas City, I think Cleveland would want too much to get him here.
Mm-hmm. All right, would you make any other upgrades across the board when you look at this team right now with what might be available? Running back seems to be, Seth, one of the ones that everyone is looking at this point.
Listen, there's a lot of tread left on the tires of Kareem Hunt. And I said when Kareem got in trouble and they put, he was put on the back burner in Cleveland, I said the Eagles should go get him right now, get him whatever help he needs, and stash him away until he's eligible to come back. Now, he's got a lot of tread on his tires because he spent a whole year not playing, and he's playing behind, one of the premier rushers in the game in Chubb. So that seems like the smart decision to make. But then you put yourself in a quandary. You got 2 running backs in expiring contracts in both Miles Sanders, and Kareem Hunt at the end of the year. Now, if you're going all in, you go all in. It is what it is, okay? And you worry about the salary cap next year. But to me, he's the type of player, I'd rather have him over Alvin Kamara. I mean, a lot of people probably see it, a different way. Listen, I'm not a big fan of Kamara and the way he plays. Yes, he makes a lot of plays in the passing game. He's fast, but I see all of those attributes in a guy like Kareem Hunt, but I also see the power in a guy like that Alvin Kamara does not possess. I seen Malcolm Jenkins shut him down once upon a time on the sideline. Just clocked him, and he didn't want any more the rest of the day. You hit Kareem Hunt that way, he's like, all right, I'll see you next time. So when I'm thinking about what the Eagles need, give me another power running back. Give me a guy who can lighten the load on Miles Sanders. Miles is having a hell of a year. Got my fingers crossed, knocking on wood, even got my doggone toes crossed. I hope the guy can stay healthy the whole season, but his history hasn't said that he was able to do that. So you're better off making the decision and going after that guy that you can bring in to spell him and create some opportunities now than waiting until something happens, and now you're up against it, and they're going to hold you over the barrel to get the guy that you want. or you pass the trade deadline, you're not going to get him anyway.
Plain and simple, a Kareem Hunt wears the defense down mentally, physically, and emotionally. You know how demoralizing that is when you think you have that young man stopped and he keeps those legs moving. He's picking up 5, 6, 7 yards, and if he gets in open space, you're going to be dust. You're going to be looking at the back end of his jersey. I would love to see a Kareem Hunt in this offense. I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, fair enough. Not just demoralizing for him, but setting up maybe another run for maybe Miles Sanders, or then Jalen Hurts breaks loose because you have such a dynamic player in Kareem Hunt coming to Philadelphia. Potentially. Probably not according to our Eagles reporter, Derek Gunn. But as of right now, I know a lot of Eagles fans are, of course, very happy about a man like Robert Quinn now being on that defensive line. That handles the business pretty much for the bye week, gentlemen, and the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday. We have an opponent sitting in front of the Philadelphia Eagles right now in the 2-5 Pittsburgh Steelers. I know this is something that no player should ever do, but as someone who doesn't have to play in the game at all, I look past this Steelers team. I think the Eagles are going to dominate in this game today. That's what I want to see. If you look at statistical categories, if you look at pretty much any statistical category throughout this entire matchup, the Eagles have the advantage in just about everything, and they have it quite handily. They're 6-0 coming into this game, as we all know, coming off their bye week. Nick Sirianni is looking to improve to 2-0 in his coaching career after the bye week. How do the Eagles not win this game, gentlemen? But let me start on the other end. If the Eagles were to lose this game, it would have to be a game that I feel everything would have to go wrong. Seth, looking at this matchup, how would they lose this game?
By maintaining the mindset, listen, they haven't played flawless. They're 6-0. Let's give them a hand clap and applaud the fact that they're 6-0. But I think even they have stated that they haven't played that complete game that they've been looking for. I even had a quote from Nick Sirianni on my show the other day where I was talking about, him saying, when we get a double-digit lead in the second half, what we really want to do is we want to hurry up and get the game over with. I'm like, that is like such the wrong mentality when you stop and you think about it. You coach a player every single day in practice to go all out to play 60 minutes. But when you get a lead, now you're trying to hurry up and run the game out. Does the Kansas City Chiefs try to run the game out? Hell no, they try to blow the damn scoreboard up, okay? They don't stop blitzing. Teams like, the great defensive teams like the Giants, who, again, I think is going to be a problem. Martindale doesn't back off, with a 2-touchdown lead. He keeps the pressure on. That's how they can lose a game like this today. If they get a lead and they lose momentum because they've taken their foot off the pedal, and Jonathan Gannon's playing, this sticks defense where they're 10, 12 yards off the ball, and all of a sudden this young kid who can sling it, all of a sudden gets his confidence going. Once momentum shifts, one of the hardest things in the world in professional sports to do is shift the momentum back. That's why while you got the momentum, you keep the momentum, and you try to just, you try to end it. By the time you get to 4 minutes, you want to make sure that there's no shadow of a doubt. But the problem is, with today's NFL, you're a turnover to a couple of pass interference, PIs, defensive PIs, which are spot fouls. You're a couple of those away from a team being right back in the game, boom, in 2 minutes' time.
All right, Gunnar, we're looking at this team, and you look at the numbers, for instance, just to list a couple of them. When you're talking about a team that scores only 15.3 points per game, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they allow 23 points per game. That is respectively 31st and 22nd in the NFL. This, again, would have to be a game, in my opinion, the Eagles have to do everything wrong in order to take that L.
There's no question about it. We had a former Steelers player, offensive lineman on our show, Sports Take Friday, Max Starks. And it sounds weird to say this, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are a team in an identity crisis right now. What we've always known historically about the Pittsburgh Steelers is this. They're going to have solid offensive line play. They're going to try to run the football. They're going to play rugged defense. They have not been able to do any of those things consistently. It's not that they don't have good players on that team. They don't have enough supporting cast to complement those good players on this team. The best thing that's happening for the Eagles today is you have a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett, who I believe is going to be a good quarterback in the National Football League. But because he's been in and out this season, up and down, he is going through growing pains. He has 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Now, when you look at the Steelers team as a whole, they're 2-5 right now, but they're playing teams close to the vest. They beat a Tampa Bay team by 2 points that's reeling right now. They're decimated by injuries, and obviously they're spiraling downward. They should have beat Miami last week, except Pickett misread the coverage and threw the pick at the goal line. They lose that game by 6 points. They should have won it 17-16. Eventually, they're going to learn how to correct some of the deficiencies they have. Hopefully, they don't learn it today.
Yeah, I hope the same thing, especially when you look at that defense from last week. Also, when looking at that Pittsburgh Steelers secondary, they dropped a number of interception opportunities that could have turned the tides of the game. If you saw that game, it was embarrassing the way they went about it defensively. In the right spot, at the right time, couldn't make the catch. Certainly, we're hoping for the same types of breaks when it comes to Jalen Hurts, if the precious pigskin is ever in peril in this game. But looking at the way this team has played, offensively speaking, great run game, great passing game as well. Yards per attempt are off the charts right now when you consider that they don't throw the ball all that much. But one thing has remained constant throughout this season. 70% of the Eagles' points this year have come in the second quarter. So when I look at a team like this today, gentlemen, this has to be the game where the Eagles are able to put all 4 quarters together in order to show just how dominant they can be.
Well, Nick talked about that. I usually don't like these early season bye weeks, but given how beat up the offensive line has been, you've got, say, Amalo's been, missed games, Mailata's missed games, Dickerson's missed a game, and Jason, Kelsey has been just nicked up the entire season. The bye couldn't come at a better time. What the bye also does for the coaching staff, it gives them an opportunity to look at what they've been doing, to self-scout what they've been doing over the first 6 games of the season. Because, listen, when you're 6-0, the teams that are coming up on the schedule, they're working overtime to try to figure out what it is that you're doing and how to stop what you're doing, especially offensively. Well, the game plan against Dallas was just genius. Dallas wanted to play an over defense, so they overshifted to the tight end side. So they decided, okay, we're going to put Micah Parsons in the mixer here, and we're going to read option off him all day long. We're even going to take the tight end off the ball, and on the snap of the ball, we're going to motion him across. We're going to run him across the formation. So Micah's got a choice. He's either going to have to take the tight end, and Jalen's going to run, or he's going to come get Jalen, and Jalen's going to dump the ball off. So certainly, as genius as that was, the other defense coordinators around the league that are getting ready to play the Eagles, they're looking at that stuff. They're looking at the data analytics and the probabilities and the tendencies of what you do and the things that you've been successful at. Now, this is a time for you as a coaching staff to say, okay, let's look at what we do a lot and let's create 2 or 3 wrinkles off of this, to give the illusion that this is what we're doing, but we're going to give them something else. We can trick the defense. Now, if they hadn't spent their time wisely, to come up with that on the offense and the defensive side, then the bye was a week. All you did was a waste, rather. All you did was gave your players an opportunity to rest up.
One thing I did like after they beat the Cowboys, Nick Sirianni did say, hey, I'll see you guys tomorrow because I'm going to be losing you for quite a while. I'm going to see you guys tomorrow so we can work on a couple of things, watch some tape maybe, get your treatment, and then enjoy your bye week. So it at least shows me that the work will still be put in at least throughout the bye week. Now, Gunnar, will this be the day we finally see a complete 4-quarter game from the Philadelphia Eagles?
To be honest with you, I don't know, because that third quarter has been their Achilles heel in a lot of ways, and then all of a sudden the light switch goes on and they assert themselves in the fourth quarter. I'm sure it's been talked about and discussed thoroughly during this bye week on ways to be more consistent and productive in that third quarter and to not give the opposition an inkling of a notion that they can stay in the game with the Philadelphia Eagles. But we have to see it first before we can make a determination on how much the bye week has been beneficial to these guys. You get a few days off in the bye week, but when you're 6-0 and everybody's gunning for you, you come back to work a lot sooner because you still have some things you need to work on, things you need to improve. And one of the more significant things they need to work on is being a better football team in that third quarter. So to answer your question, I can't give you a definitive answer until we see it.
The only thing I want to see in this game, if it's not a complete 4-quarter game, it's because it's such a blowout by the fourth quarter. They can just run the football a little bit, run out the clock, and do what Nick Sirianni apparently wants to do anyway, what he told Seth, which was, let's just get this game over as fast as possible. Yeah. Now, here's a great thing. We have the Phillies in the World Series, obviously. Last night did not go the way we wanted it to. However, they are coming to South Philadelphia for for games 3, 4, and 5. And if you would like a chance to go to those games, we're going to throw to our lead sponsor for the post-game show. We're going to throw to Pond Lee Hockey, our friend Tommy Giordano, who is going to tell us how you can win some tickets. We'll be back in a moment.
Philly sports fans, I'm Tom Giordano from Pond Lee Hockey Giordano. First and foremost, thank you for watching the Pond Lee Hockey postgame show. But right now, we're giving away tickets to the World Series. Follow Pond Lee Hockey on Instagram and check out our posts for your chance to win tickets to all 3 Phillies home games. Go Phillies and go Birds.